Good morning, everyone. I'm Susan Finch, and I am here on behalf of myself, of course, and SLMA Radio, the Sales Lead Management Association Radio. This show will be rebroadcast on the 18th on that as a streamed show. I met these two folks. I have Joe and Brigitte here from Reputation Impression, and I met them through a client that uses their services, and I was so impressed with their knowledge, their ability to tackle negative reviews, and their proactive approach to reputation management. I decided that this needed to be a show. So let me tell you a little bit about Reputation Impression, then we'll just dive right into it. Reputation Impression is an all-in-one reputation management solution. They help businesses nationwide develop a positive online presence. It means that they create, they update, they optimize directory listings for businesses of all the major review sites such as Google+, Yahoo, Yelp, and all those types of things. So we're going to get right into this show, and I want to go ahead and introduce my guests. You can go ahead and unmute yourselves. Brigitte and Joe from Reputation Impression, welcome.
Hi, Susan. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. It is so nice to have you guys here. And if the audience doesn't know, this is their first HOA. So we are here, as we like to say, breaking them in. And that's, I guess, a nicer way to say it. Some people use other terms. But we're very happy to have you here. And let's get right into the points that you want to cover.
Perfect.
Well, thank you very much, Susan. And now I know where the instigator comes as part of your title. So thank you for having us on the show. Bridget and I are really excited to be able to share some knowledge with you guys. As you have indicated, Reputation Impression is basically an online reputation management company. And our primary goal, aside from the things that you mentioned, is to be able to get businesses throughout the United States and Canada to appear in the front page of all the major directories when somebody's doing generic searches. For example, if I'm looking for an auto repair shop in Dallas, I want your business to be the one that appears on the front page within the organic section. And on top of that, have the best reviews and ratings, so you are not just a choice, but you become the top choice that people will actually go to.
Wait a minute, that starts to get a little confusing. That almost sounds like you do SEO too.
It's a little different than SEO. So we dive into more of the local optimization, which are the directories themselves. That's 7-pack. So when you do that Google search and you're appearing under auto repair and there's that A through G, that's what our primary goal is and our focus is. Your website, which is typical SEO, there's a little bit more that goes into it. There's backlinks, there's keywords, meta tags, descriptions. That's a little bit different than what we do, but the fact that we have our 4 points of reputation management, which are local optimization, which we were just kind of discussing a little bit. We have reviews and ratings, negative review removal, and also social media. So these 4 points we feel like is the whole package for reputation management, aside from just negative reviews, which I feel like a lot of people really assume is just reputation management.
Well, it is, but I think, though, you've covered a great point already, stating that, okay, your website and SEO is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about what other people are saying about you in other venues that you don't necessarily control.
Exactly.
That you can help to influence, you can help to sway, you can help to correct and respond to, but it's not your site, so you don't have that full control, and it requires a lot more, well, strategic, great planning, gentle hands.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot that goes into it. So I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people, the first thing they think of is negative reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And what we learned when I did my If I Had a Nickel series, and we had Mike Blumenthal on, who is all about Google search. I mean, not Google search, Google local and Google businesses. And he brought up the point, and I'm sure you can attest to this, that only about 25% of the people actually review service businesses. And that's what you guys focus on, are service types of businesses. But 76% of us read the reviews.
Exactly.
Is that about what you know?
It's pretty close. So it also depends on the directory too. As you all know, Yelp has a very strong community, so you're going to tend to see more individuals posting reviews on that side as opposed to possibly Google+. But what we try to do here is try to give businesses and business owner tools to actually gather reviews across multiple review sites. So there's a good way to do that is through email surveys, actually, and leading your clients to those specific directories so then they can go ahead and leave that positive review for you.
Now, you wouldn't have, I wouldn't have thought of that. I wouldn't have thought to go ahead and ask everybody. I know some clients, well, I know because I work with one of your clients, that they have done, initially they were geared toward giving the customer a survey after they did their plumbing service or their electrical service and letting them fill it out in the privacy of their, their home. And then it would get mailed in kind of anonymously and privately so that the service technician wouldn't see it. But we can evolve into something more than that, and you have evolved into more than that with, I think, just a phenomenal idea of these ranters that, a lot of times, you guys, negative reviews come from somebody having a really cruddy day. It had nothing to do with you. But you reminded them of their mother-in-law, you reminded them of the kid they're mad at, you reminded them of the crabby neighbor down the street, and they will go off on you because their day is bad. So can you tell me a little bit about that proactive service that you offer in there? Because I think this is a fabulous idea.
Do you want to go ahead and talk about this part, Joe?
I'll take that part. Okay, so reviews and ratings, like you mentioned on your earlier statement, 76% of those people that actually are going to read those reviews. It's actually about 93% of those people, okay, are actually going to make a decision based on what they read, okay? So what we've done is we've created a program or a process to be able to help businesses collect that positive feedback immediately, okay, as opposed to giving you a survey for you to take home and then becomes homework, and people go home, they got to pick up the kids, they got to cook dinner, they got to do additional chores.
They have lives.
They have a life, okay? So they don't want to think about you anymore. You fixed their car, you fixed their teeth, they're happy now, so their life moves on. So what we've done is we've implemented a process that you can have in your office, okay? And it's going to be a quick site that we're going to build for you that is going to be linked to some of the major directories, which are going to be Google or Yelp. And then an email 5 minutes after that visit, okay, will get sent to that client, and it will be received whether they're on a mobile device, whether they just got back to the office, and when they open that email is going to say, hey, thank you very much for coming to our office or using our services. Did you have a good experience? If that experience is positive, they're going to click on yes, and that is going to turn into a link to be able to share their feedback immediately
on the Google or Yelp sites.
Or Yelp directories. So that's a great way of collecting positive feedback immediately while the experience is fresh in their mind. However, this also is going to help you deter some of those negative reviews that get online, because if they did not have an experience, that link is going to switch into a survey that is going to be able to tell the business what the problem was. And when they click submit, as opposed to going online, they're going to go back to the owner, and the owner is going to be able to receive and review that feedback and try to figure out what's not working in their business. So not only that helps you collect feedback to be able to fix problems you may have in-house, but it also deter from getting negative reviews online. So
do you find that, I mean, I don't know how long you've been running that particular program, but I'm wondering if your experience of that is that, yes, I mean, that kind of gets it out of their system. And are you seeing a reduction not only in the negative reviews, but in the negative responses, because now our owners are more proactive and are they actually taking that and immediately doing something about it, or are they just kind of like, oh, thank goodness they didn't post a crappy review and letting it sit?
And you made a good point on that, Susan, because reputation management is not only the fact of what we do for the business, but it generates the partnership in where the owner actually is more involved, because now they're being more aware of what's going on with their business. So if you keep getting these comments from Susie Q being the receptionist, being rude to customers, eventually you're going to have to fix that problem.
And that's where the survey is really helpful. So because there's that split, if yes, they had a great experience, they get directed to Google or Yelp to leave a review. And if they had a negative experience, they click that no, they're taken to a survey where the business owner can then get that information, review it, and they have access to it in real time so they can see when they're coming in. Maybe there was a day where Susie was really rude to everybody and they got 5 new negatives in that survey. Now he knows he can take that approach and go to his employee and try to rectify that situation.
That sounds like I think a great solution and a different angle to look at, you're solving two problems at once,
Mhm.
Exactly.
and ultimately building a better business.
And a
So,
better reputation online.
right.
Trying the
Now,
next
I've seen too, can you give business owners a little bit of advice? I know I try and do this. When they receive the notification, if they're receiving them first of a negative review, I think let's back up a little bit. First, they need to, if they haven't hired somebody like you yet, they need to make sure that they're receiving notification every time a review is posted about their business. How would you recommend, the easy way to do that isn't quite as thorough, of course, as your services, but what's a quick Band-Aid solution so people can make sure that they are getting those notifications?
What I would definitely recommend offhand is Google Alerts. You can put in your business name through Google Alerts, and they'll send you an email every time something's populated on the web about your business with any positive or negative feedback.
Google Alerts is going through some changes, though.
Oh, never.
Have you noticed that? Yeah, we're actually looking at, I'm looking at a few different options instead, because it seems to be kind of going the way of Google Voice or Google, or I'm sorry, the Google Reader.
Okay.
And so it might be ending up in the Google graveyard. We don't know yet, but it's kind of in flux, guys. So this is as of today, 9/10/2014. For now, Google Alerts does work.
There
You can have it watch your company name and terms and things to look for that as it happens.
And that's a great point, Susan. As a company, one of the things that we do is we try to stay ahead of the changes that are being thought out there. Okay, so if you're a dentist, okay, you know how to take care of people's teeth. Okay, let the professionals like our company, okay, help you manage your business online the way that needs to be managed with the marketing and the new technology that changes every day. Okay.
No, that's a great point. You guys, if your business relies on positive feedback, sharing, and reviews, don't risk that by thinking you can handle it all. Get these guys. Get somebody like them, if not them, but get them. Have them help you set this up so you don't have to worry about knowing when things change.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Owners need to do what they know how to do best, which is run their business. We know how to do best and what's best for your business as it relates to online reputation.
And a lot of times it is very hands-on, it is very tedious going to all these sites, monitoring all the review sites. So think of it, it takes us probably a few hours each day on an individual basis for a client to look at all their sites. So imagine that as a business owner having to go through your Google, your Yelp, Yellow Pages, or your Facebook and your Twitter and just posting to all these different sites or monitoring all these sites. It's a large daily task for someone who's trying to run a business.
Exactly.
It is, and we're going to take a quick station break before we talk about the best way to respond to negative reviews and your advice there. So this is Susan Finch. I am here on behalf today of the Sales Lead Management Association, SLMA Radio, and my guests are Joe and Brigitte from Reputation Impression. We are talking about managing your online reputation. All right, so now we're back with Joe and Brigitte, and we want to talk about negative reviews. So here we go. A bad one comes in. We get an alert. You get an alert. Sometimes the client gets it first, and they're mad at that person. It's like, I remember them. They were terrible, and they want to tell everybody about it, and they want to post about it, and they want to just tell them how bad and stupid they are. Okay, that's not a great idea. So, what is your most logical advice, other than telling them to breathe and count to 10, when they receive something like that? How do we have them take this opportunity to spin it into a positive?
Well,
go ahead.
So basically, every directory does have its own terms and services and what abides by each directory. So technically, if a review does violate their terms and services, there is ways to get those types of reviews down. There's a dispute process you can go through. If you're not too well versed on their terms and services, there's always a way to respond to those reviews. And you always want to be as neutral, positive, apologize for the incident, try to rectify the incident throughout in the comment itself and reach out to that individual who had a negative experience. So then you can go ahead and devalue that negative review.
And do it privately. Do not do it in the open forum.
So even that, okay, Joe, so I want to ask about that and take that a little bit further. I've seen when people post publicly something negative and it's just sitting there, they shouldn't say anything. Shouldn't they respond at all and then say, I would very much like to speak to you, further about this in private. We are to show compassion first?
Yeah, so with that, you can message an individual privately on Yelp, but say the individual's not responding and you take that route and you try to message them privately first and you're not getting a response from them, that's when I would go through. You want to post something and comment on that review so it is public, so other individuals who are looking at those listings see that you tried to rectify that situation, see that you tried to resolve it with that individual, and then thus devalues that negative review.
And that's a good point. And to add to what Brigitte said, some of the times customers that receive negative comments online, okay, what they do is they get mad because somebody has posted a negative review about their business. So what they go in and they respond publicly saying, you're lying, you were never in my business, you never did this.
Oh my gosh, I have I have folks like that. Yes.
So what you don't want to do is you do not want to add a negative to our already negative statement.
Yeah.
It becomes a double negative, and then that customer is going to read.
But that makes it positive.
In the real world, but not in the online world. So then what happens is you start a string of messages back and forth, and then that review that was 2 lines negative about your business just became a page long of negative information back and forth.
Yeah.
So that's what you want to avoid. Okay, there's ways to go ahead and dispute the negatives and ultimately try to get them removed utilizing the directory's terms and conditions before you address or respond to comment privately and try to reach out to that particular client. So those are processes that we have put in place to be able to help your integrity, number one, because I don't want to have you battling in a ring online with somebody that may or may not have been a part of your business.
And then once it's on the internet, it's there forever.
Exactly.
So.
Once it's there, it's there. So you do not want to be a part of that ring circle.
Now, can people go back? What if you make nice with these folks and you get it resolved?
Yes.
Is there a tactful way? I mean, do you, as your service, or go back and ask them, oh, would you mind removing that or editing your review?
I think it depends on the individual. If you're able to rectify the situation, you're on good terms with that reviewer, I think there are definitely times when it's appropriate, but you have to kind of, it's more of a gray line. Some people, get really, frustrated that you ask them to remove the review. So it's a really gentle process. So you have to go in and talk to that individual, feel them out, try to see if they're really someone who would be okay with removing that review if you've solved their issue. A lot of times they are. A lot of times they'll update the reviews on Yelp, but like I said, it just depends on the individual.
Now, aren't there are only a few major review sites, and it seems to me like the rest kind of aggregate and pull in all those reviews, and sometimes it gets updated at one, and it hasn't been updated at the other. What's the length of that process, and what do you do about those situations?
Well, there's a lot of sites, so say City Search, for example, or Urban Spoon Merchant Circle. They're all a part of under one hub. So if if a review gets posted on one of these sites, it trickles into all the other ones. You can also go through and dispute and remove reviews for all those sites as well. But because they're all using aggregated data, a lot of times you remove something off Yellow Pages, it's still going to appear on your City Search listing because your City Search pulled that prior to it being removed. So it's having to manage and know what's going on with all these listings at once and being able to address them individually.
How do you find the root of it? Which one was the originator that pushed it all out? I mean, thank goodness we have people like you to go and chase them all down. But if not,
that's the hard part, because as you know, internet evolves. Okay, like a couple of months ago, Yelp and Yahoo merged. So now whatever reputation you had on Yelp, it appears on Yahoo and vice versa. So we need to monitor all sites. That's why if you're a dentist and you're managing your online reputation, you're really not seeing as many patients as you should be. That's why we do reputation management and we don't clean teeth at the same time.
It's so intertwined, and I don't think people realize too, when you are online as your business, when you are leaving reviews places too, and you are commenting, all of that comes into play and gets indexed as well. Behave yourselves, guys. Behave yourselves online. And, you know, as Joe was advising you, you don't want to be the one that puts the negative on top of the negative. Find a way to be respectful, to, you know, be compassionate, if nothing else, to give them, even if you know it in your heart that they stink and they were horrible and they were liars, you still want to give them the benefit of the doubt, at least publicly, to show, you know, that you are a professional and that you aren't a hothead.
Exactly. And that's the key word, okay? You know, professionalism helps you at providing great service at work, and now that we have the online arena, we need to go ahead and protect that reputation online as well. So being professional at work now has been extended to being professional online.
Now, here's something that I've had happen before. I wrote a children's book back in 2009, and I sold it on Amazon. And my friends, some of my friends bought it, and some of them reviewed it. And then I got one negative review that was kind of anonymous from somebody. I found out who it was. And my neighbors knew who it was. And they flipped out, and they attacked her online on Amazon. And so suddenly my, you know, quote, advocates were fueling this fire, and it became this back and forth bashing. You know, it's... bless your hearts for wanting to protect our businesses, but sometimes it does a detriment to us.
Yeah.
And it made it look like this juvenile, immature discussion that had nothing to do with the book. And it became about my credibility and my reputation on Amazon. I'm like, this isn't fun.
And once it gets out there, it just grows, okay? It never just stays still. So that's what we need to understand, and that's why this process is not an overnight process, okay? This is something that a business needs for the life of the business, okay?
And also, too, you'll start to notice, I don't know if you've seen this already, but Facebook hosts reviews now, too, on a business page. So an individual can check in, they can give you a star rating, and they can leave you a comment and a review on that business. So reviews are now kind of moving into the social element as well. There's pages like Foursquare that are hosting reviews. Yelp is technically starting to be considered a social site because it's a community. And then there's Facebook with reviews as well. So it's important to have that presence consistent even on all your social sites too, and having that presence on social networks.
That brings us to a good point, though, when you talk about Facebook and reviews. I've run into businesses that, you know, want to purchase likes or promote things and get likes. That, to me, is the biggest mistake, because you invite reviews from people that don't even know you. Then suddenly they can give you stars, they can just not like one of your posts, and they'll slam you. And you've never even heard of them, you've never done business with them. And Facebook is actually pretty good. You can you know, dispute it and say, hey, can you please remove this? I've never done business with them. They're in Malaysia. I don't even know who they are. But it's a result of buying likes. Stop buying your reputation, folks. It's one thing to pay for a service to manage it. That's different. Do not buy your reputation. Do not buy your popularity. You know, organic and sincere, good business reviews and word of mouth, especially for you service businesses, that's the way to go. There is no shortcut. Do it right. Be good.
To add to that, Susan, that is a great point you made. Do not buy your reputation, okay? As a business owner, you need to understand that you need to care about your business and what your business does. So as an owner, you need to recognize if there are areas of opportunity and challenging areas within your business. So we as a consultant to your online reputation are going to point those out and are going to work with you to be able to manage that and try to improve it.
So, for example, maybe you don't need to spend $3,000 a month on Yellow Pages advertising, because, you know, advertising online on Yellow Pages is great for maybe some areas, but most of the time people aren't going to go to Yellow Pages. They go to Google, they're going to go to Yelp. We want to be able to help you find what's that best approach for your business if you're wasting money in services that people are just kind of cold calling you on.
And the same thing. Money.
Really quick, I'm going to do one quick identification. This is at the 25-minute mark.
Sure.
And this will be broadcast on SLMA Radio. My guests today are Brigitte and Joe from Reputation Impression, and we are talking about reputation management. You can find them at reputationimpression.com. and we are so grateful to have them on today.
Thank you for having us.
So let's finish up then our conversation, because that's enough for SLMA Radio. That's our 25 minutes, but we want to keep this going for a few more minutes if you don't mind.
Sure, of course.
Sure.
All right. We were talking about, let's see, we have talked about social media in depth and the different social media venues and how it isn't just about buying advertising space. That's really old school thinking, and I'm actually kind of stunned when clients have me create ads for them for Yellow Pages or online Yellow Pages. Like, really?
Yeah. It's kind of this old mentality that's been that Yellow Pages is trying to take into this new 21st century digital age, and I think it might work for some people to a certain extent, but most of the time I feel like it's pretty unnecessary.
As far as being unnecessary, some people still believe it, so you don't want to discount that, depending on the area you're in. However, I was at a speech engagement the other day, and a lady stood up and said something that stood with me and is going to stay with me for a long time. She said, one of the biggest things I've learned about social media marketing, and online reputation is that you got to market your business in the year you're living in. So if you believe in the phone book mentality, that's not today's marketing strategy. So you need to be realistic to where you are, what tools are being provided to you to be able to market your business in today's environment, and take advantage of that. We can provide you with a consultation and let you know what it is that you need, and have you have a path forward to be able to not to fix what's not working or upgrade some of the things and challenges you're having, but kind of set your business for life.
And let's get to the topic of seeking out somebody who provides services like you do. Folks, if you're getting emails from people soliciting you to hire them for reputation management, delete. That's spam. Do your research. Find out who is getting great reviews in your space. And then do a little bit of digging to find out who are they using possibly. And look for the folks that are out there and look at the reviews on those businesses. Ask to speak to some of their customers. Ask to see, what is it that stands out about that client, that company that made you want to stay with them. How long have you been with them? Have you been with them over a year? There's some questions, again, to vet out these types of service providers like reputation impression. I vetted them. I have spent time with them. I have been with them on and off for a couple of years through this one client, and I continue to be impressed. So when I have a client that has that need, this is who I'm sending them to. If they're in the service industry of any type, this is who I'm calling. So vet your folks so you know who you can comfortably recommend or try out, and see if you can try them out for a while and what they promise. If they promise you instant returns, they're lying.
Yeah, it's nothing. A lot of times people think that a service like ours can happen in 30 days and everything will be cleaned up in 30 days and you're going to look immaculate and you're going to rank everywhere. And it really is a much longer process. Google indexes your different directories and they pull information from all the other review sites, which is why we power list about 100 or so, maybe a little bit more, directories such as Super Pages, Merchant Circle, City Search, and have your information consistent across the board, because Google really likes to see that consistent information with your business name, your hours, address, phone number. So it's really important to have all that information consistent, and then that will help you rank higher in those search engines, Google lookup and things like that.
I covered that in a show. We call that NAP, name, address, phone number. That was from one of the If I Had a Nickel shows. It has to match. The same show with Mike Blumenthal, guys. I'll put the link to it. You have to matchy-matchy everywhere. You have to verify, and you have to be there to pick up the phone when Google calls and says, "Is this your business?" Yes. You have got to be there. But there are a couple of questions in the comments that I'd like to bring up. There was a big one first, and Brigitte, you saw that.
Oh.
But let's handle the little one first. And Karen Maris brought this up, and she said, do Yellow Pages still appeal to the older generation among us? And this is, again, knowing your target audience.
I have two answers to that question. The older generation are still thinking that the phone book is going to be there, okay? However, the older generation is also seeking out the younger family members to be able to conduct those researches to be able to give them the answers and the suggestions as to where they're going to go to. So what is the younger generation providing the feedback, utilizing the tools that we have in front of us? So that's something we need to keep in mind.
All right. And Bridget, can you tackle that bigger one?
Oh, so basically, with negative reviews and who's going to leave them as opposed to people leaving positive reviews, obviously if someone had a really nasty or negative experience, they're going to be much more motivated to go online and leave that negative review. Whereas if they had a great experience and they were there for the first time, I think it all comes down to customer service. If you gave that individual great customer service and they left your establishment saying, wow, like, you know, that was awesome. Like everyone was really nice. I had the best experience I've had thus far in a business like that. They're more inclined to leave that review. But a lot of times if you want to give individuals incentive or sending them a quick email reminder asking them to leave their feedback, it kind of pings that in their head. So when they get home from 5-10 minutes after leaving your place of business, they'll remember, oh, I did like that place there. I'm going to go ahead and leave that review online, and they'll leave you feedback on Google and Yelp. We have a lot of clients who are using that program, our review tool, and they are getting tons of positive feedback on Google and Yelp, and we're not seeing nearly as many negatives go online either, because those people are filling out a survey as opposed to going onto the directory because they have it right there in front of them in an email asking them for their experience.
Rob, I hope that answered your question. I've seen a few restaurants that actually on the receipt at the bottom, they provide a space for an email, and with the incentive that I'll get email, specials and announcements and things or menu changes. And so I'm apt to do that. I'm thinking if I were that restaurateur, I would put a date on those as they came in and make sure that I responded to them, like you said, right away to say thank you for visiting us, and then send them right into your system of the yes or no, happy, not happy.
Exactly.
To be able to address that right away. For me and my friends, I find that when it's negative, I'm going to go blast somebody. And actually, because I'm so aware of how much that affects a business, I will actually try and seek out the owner if it's a real issue. And if I don't get a response, then I'm going to blast you. But they have to make it easy for me to engage with them, and they have to be receptive to hearing me. But when I get a really positive thing, I don't necessarily give a review. Sometimes I'll go through and do all my reviews at once somewhere, like on Google Plus, because I don't do anything on Google, because I don't do anything on Yelp anymore. But I will be more apt to do word of mouth sharing when it's positive. And I'll share it on Facebook and talk about them, or post an image and say, this place was great, go check it out.
Exactly.
So it's a different approach. I'm glad Rob brought that up. When it's negative for me, I'm more apt to make it this public, impersonal blasting. When it's positive, that's a lot more, I kind of bring them into my fold of businesses I want to continue to support. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Sorry, it froze a little bit for a second. We missed that last part of your
point. If it's a positive experience, I'm more apt to kind of add them to my list in my head of intimates that I share with my intimates.
Right.
That I'm going to want to directly share it on a more personal level with my friends and my circles, rather than if it's a negative, I'm usually just like all fired up and I'm ticked off, and I can't always contain myself. I will admit that. And I will first try the owner, and if I don't get a response from the business within a day, then I will go ahead and and remind myself to post some kind of negative review that, hey, this is how it was. You might have a different experience. Mine stunk.
Right, and the review tool that we actually have put in place kind of helps you with that. Okay, because what you want to do is you want to go ahead and request the feedback as quickly as possible. And then if that person is really not satisfied, that person is going to utilize that venue to be able to vent, okay? And instead of going online to the major directories, is going to go back to the owner itself, and then that person is going to be able to identify, okay, I do have an issue, I need to reach out to this person. So there is a proactive response from the owner going or following that. But at the same time, what happens with a negative feeling you had is you now have vented, okay, and it may seem to you that, okay, it's enough, I already filled out the survey, it's online, and it's going to go out there. You don't know whether it went to Google or whether it went to Yelp or went to Yellow Pages, but now you have vented. So you felt, or you feel like you've been heard, and your situation is going to be addressed.
So I'm assuming one of the services you provide then is to find the best path and opportunity and point in the experience to request that email address, because if you don't have that, you guys are kind of stuck.
Exactly, because somebody is going to go home after a great experience and they're just going to go on their merry way and they're going to go on with their lives. They're not thinking about you again. Okay? If they didn't have a good experience, then they're going to go home, and if they haven't had anything from you within the last half an hour that it took them to drive home, they're still mad. They're still thinking that you don't care. They're still thinking they got to do something about it, and that's when those negative reviews come in. So short of manipulating the system, what you're doing is you're asking for that negative or positive feedback immediately, and that's what happens.
It's still fresh in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, folks. Well, this is why we need somebody like Reputation Impression or another company, but somebody that does what you do, because I don't know the best way to make sure I get that email. Exactly. I know how to do the service. I know how to respond. I know how to improve my business. But it's making sure that I ask for the order of that email address, which, as we all know, folks, your email list is yours. It is one of the most precious commodities you have in your business to continue to grow your business. So let's not discount that piece of it, and hiring professionals to help you gather that.
Exactly. It's like you got to relate who we are and what we do as your financial advisor. They're the ones that are going to help you take care of your retirement, so you're not just going to go ahead and take advice from Susie Q down the street and protect your retirement. Let us help you with that. We know how to do it. We've encountered just about every situation a business owner can have, and we are successful at what we do.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on today. What a wonderful show. And I hope, folks, that we've given you some good advice, some new paths, and some things to think about, especially if you have a service business. You can find Bridget and Joe at reputationimpression.com. You can also see them in the comments, and you can circle Bridget, and we will get Joe's information up there, too, so we can circle Joe, and so he's not a bluehead. We'll get you going. And be sure, if you missed this, you'll be able to hear it too live, streamed, quote live, on SLMA Radio on the 18th. SLMAradio.com, part of the Sales Lead Management Association. Thank you, folks. We're so glad that you joined us today, and we will look forward to the next adventure.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.